story being in Egypt and having a good time. We'd love to hear from you guys.
I I'm very happy today. I visited my best friend. I'm visiting my best friend in Madrid, actually. She's been calling me for 4 years. We've been best friends in high school, and then I went to Chicago. She came to Madrid, and another of our friends, she went to London. So we were separated, and now we're meeting here after so many years. I mean, we met at some points, obviously, in Turkey and so forth, but it's our first time visiting our friend here. So I'm very happy. I like Madrid so far, although it's so super hot. It's insane. It's really good. It's 40 degrees, I think. But
Oh,
at least
in the
it's
heat wave.
yeah, yeah. But it's not humid. It's just really dry heat, which is much better in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I feel so loved and held today, just being in the presence of my best friend, really. So only good vibes, but also just trying to find an apartment in New York City, which is crazy house market. I hate it, and it's been giving me so much anxiety. But I think I found something last minute today, so hopefully we're good on that. Um, we'll see. I don't want to live there all my life. Maybe just 1 more year, and then I really want to leave. It's crazy, insane place. Yeah. To you, Bear. How have you been?
Amazing. Good luck with New York.
Thank
That
you.
is a hustle. How are you doing there?
I'm good. I'm good as well. I don't have much like exciting things that have happened recently. Um, it's been also really hot here. Right now, well, I'm based in Edmonton, Canada. It's usually super cold most of the year, like 10 out of the 12 months of the year. So it's been hot, so that's been nice, but also like extremely hot, so I don't like that either. um, but yeah, weather's been nice. I'm trying to decide when I will be going back to Mexico. I don't know if like during this month maybe, or maybe during the fall. I'm still trying to figure that out. Um, but yeah, just like enjoying life. Um, what else? I had some like gathering with some friends on Sunday. It was been a while since I did that, like with the pandemic and all that. It took me some time to go out again, but it was nice, and uh, we had some barbecue, some burgers, um, nice drinks, and yeah, it was chill. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Just like trying to focus on the TEC work, collaborating, participating. Really fun, really exciting. Everything that's happening. So yeah, I pass it to you, Livy.
Amazing. Good summer vibes for everybody. Um, yeah, so today I wanted to, well, I reached out to Kojak, but he didn't get back to me. I wanted to see if he was willing to expand on his SWOT analysis. Is that something you would like to take on, Bear, or we would rather have him here?
I mean, I think I don't know if you guys had the chance to look at his presentation, like the PowerPoint or the Google Slides he did. I think, well, like from what I understood, he's kind of like focusing more in finding solutions, specifically more in regards to like the economic layer and like participation and governance, that kind of stuff, like the different dynamics the tokens he's proposing like could have with a current TEC token. So I mean, I think that's super interesting. I think that to fully grasp the presentation, it would be great for him to be here. Because, for example, I have a lot of questions, but I think it's super interesting. So yeah, I don't know. What would you suggest, Livy? We could kind of get into that too. Or also, I mean, kind of like the way I was seeing things with the SWOT analysis, more with the Figma board, was maybe coming up like with different topics, I guess, especially in terms of weaknesses. I would say those are like maybe focus points that can also be talked about or discussed. So yeah, I don't know how you see things.
Yeah. No, if so, maybe we wait for him to dive deeper into this. And I know you guys were doing work together with the analysis. So if there is something that you want to look deeper into the SWOT, there's something I wanted to share that is somehow related to this, which is this board, the vision board we had for the TEC. It was one of the first exercises we made with the token engineering community. So it was mostly, I don't know, Shebnin, Angela, Zargam, priests, people that were active in the TE community at that time. I did this one research that we sent the survey to people with some of these questions of like, how should be our funding culture? What is out of scope of the TC? How will the world change because of the TC? How, what are the values? We were starting to talk about the mission, vision, and values here. And I thought maybe it was a good moment for us to revise this because it feels like, I don't know, there's a certain crisis with the TC, like with the financial sustainability, and this research that you guys are doing with SWOT felt like, yeah, diving deeper into strengths and weaknesses. And I thought maybe if we understand a little bit better some of the insights that were brought in the beginning, we could also realize some blind spots we have now. As
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, for me personally, it would be amazing to see like what you guys were thinking when all of this started. So yeah, for sure, I think we can do that. And I was also gonna say something, but I forgot. Let me see if I remember. But yeah, if you want, we can start with this.
Yes, I agree. I think it would be super cool to see a lot of the initial vision and brainstorming that went into this because, with time and with the pace of many different projects and initiatives, it's sometimes gets difficult to kind of stick to the initial, like vision and ideas, and some, just lose a touch. Or I don't know, just it's always a good reminder, I think. So yeah, it'd be good for me too to just see. Super exciting. But can you maybe share the link, a mirror link, Levy, because my
yeah,
internet is not so good, so I can't see it very well from your
yeah,
screen.
I'll share in Softgov.
Yeah, and I just remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, I feel like also according to the SWOT and also according to some conversations that I've been hearing around, probably one of the, you could say, main weaknesses or main kind of like confusion points is this part of like the narrative of the TEC, like going back to what's the mission, vision, and values of the TEC, and what narrative are we following, what is the narrative that all the working groups and all the initiatives are following, and like making sure that it's the same one, because sometimes it feels like each working group or each person, it's kind of like following their own path. It's kind of like they understood one thing and that's what they are doing. They are talking like taking a separate path. So maybe kind of like going back and finding that unifying kind of vision so we can like focus efforts. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think we got to this point definitely to update the narrative. I don't think the mission, vision, and values because we haven't. I mean, I still feel like the vision of the TC is the vision of I still feel like they are up to date. But I think the actual like a system has the purpose that it wants to have and the purpose that is actualized. And I feel like the purpose the TEC wants to have, it's its mission, vision, and values, but then what's actually happening might not be exactly that. And that is a moment of like looking again into everything and seeing how we can reroute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like kind of like we're missing, like this thread that it's all around the TEC and unifies all the groups and all the initiatives. I feel that sometimes it's something that might be missing, or that maybe is not as strong as maybe it used to be. I don't know. So yeah, if you want, let's dive into this.
Cool. So, yeah, I think the most interesting for me to review was this one. What would be a great proposal for the TE Commons to fund and operated in tech. So the ones that were most heavily commented was education and R&D. I think education, it makes so much sense because it's such a nascent discipline that we need to educate people about token engineering and as a whole. So education, an academy lecture series to teach future token engineers. I think the TE Academy has been doing this. Well, I'll read all of them and then we can comment. Expand Token Engineering Academy, Sherman Educational Material, books, slide decks, guides. Sherman, the whole point is to make token engineering more tangible for newbies before we get into more sophisticated CAD stuff. Dynamic Games Seminar, TAs, admin, scholarship materials, publication. Video material to explain the stuff we're doing. Video tutorials. Onboarding to the Commons Guide. Interdisciplinary events. A lot of social science people need info. Shabnam's book. A course titled Token Engineering at Any University. Sample use cases and easy to digest models use cases. People only understand what they can touch. So from this, on the education side, what are some thoughts you guys have?
Um, yeah. So this is something that I've also like been wanting to discuss and to put on the table, and I guess it's really related with this part of the narrative, because I find a little confusing in terms of, I would say, maybe branding, uh, like the word token engineering, right? Because I know that the TEC exists, it's the Token Engineering Commons, but then you have the Token Engineering Academy. But then you also, I know there's a Twitter account, a handle that it's actually just token engineering, and also like a YouTube channel that is just token engineering. So it's kind of like from the perspective of a newcomer, is like where is the actual shilling point? Like where is the actual group or organization where I should go first? Or like from the perspective of someone looking for a service, should I go to the Token Engineering Commons, or should I go to this Twitter account that it's called actually Token Engineering? So I feel like there's kind of like different groups or different parts that I don't quite get. I understand that one of each of them have like their own purpose. For example, like the academy, it's exactly this, right? Education. But then, does that mean that the TC will never provide educational services or opportunities? Or does it mean that maybe we need to collaborate better into kind of like maybe unifying the TEC and the TA at some point? So it's kind of like one place. And what about this other token engineering place? Like it's kind of confusing for me. So yeah, maybe it's not that related exactly with education, but that it was just something that I wanted to bring up.
I definitely agree. I mean, especially just in general, I think the DAO space, and this space for newcomers and new learners is already difficult to navigate. And I think, especially I think that brings an opportunity for TEC to, I think, also maybe organize in a way that attracts the people that we want to attract, just not only because of what we do, but also because of the ease of it and the like organizational flow of it. And I agree with Bear. I get confused sometimes, like my friends were asking me, like some people, about Token Engineering Academy and the point of contact, and I wasn't sure if it was even its like new DAO. And like I think a lot of the times like definitions get confused, so maybe we can also we can do, I don't know, maybe more community polls and kind of spend more time into really structuring and organizing around what is called what, and like what is part of like what structure, and maybe try to have like this unifying like platform and place, and which would be maybe just TC Discord. But definitely I agree with Bear that there's this, I think, this confusion overall for me too around um, what is the product of TEC, what is the opportunities that TEC provide, and out of the different working groups, for example, or out of the different initiatives within TEC, which one is actually really in TEC and which ones are kind of like separating in their own ways and not part of TEC anymore. Yeah, I don't know if this last point makes sense, but yeah, that I just agree with that, what Bear said a lot.
Yeah, cool. That's super helpful to know. Yeah, it feels like there's a certain identity crisis in the TC, but I think it's being solved, and it's good to know that that's the reflection. Because, for example, the difference between the channels, that's something that, like, we started with the same server. The TEC was in the TE server, but then what happened is that when Angela created the Token Engineering Academy, there was no community for token engineering yet. So all the branding for TE is actually the TE Academy branding. But then it became like the name, like when you look for token engineering, you see the TE Academy stuff. So maybe that is something to talk to them about, like what is the best way we can solidify brandings without creating confusion for anyone, because the shared objective is that people like get into token engineering and learn. And yeah, so that's a good feedback. And then we moved to a separate server eventually because we were going to launch a token, and then we didn't want all that confusion happening in the T Academy Discord.
Because, for example, I mean, reading the TC vision, like of becoming like the shielding point of token engineering, it's kind of like that, right? It's kind of like, then where is exactly that shielding point? Is it TC or is it TE, right? Maybe we could find like a way of kind of like unifying the different forces, and I know each of them might have like their own communities and their own efforts, but I guess if we kind of want to like follow that vision that we have, is might be important to do that, no? Or yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah, I think you described it really well, like an identity kind of crisis, kind of in the macro, like in terms of the names of these different organizations, but also like in the micro, like Irem was saying, like within the working groups as well. I think it's kind of like the same problem. So yeah, like in my opinion, I guess I would try to find a way of unifying. I think that would be like the alternative that could bring more clarity overall, I think. And like unifying forces could make us kind of like stronger, right?
I agree. It made me think of the content curation service idea that Sampo is, for example, like implementing right now. And I know Gideon has been talking to like Omega and also to comms, and just finding, like, trying to figure out ways and several components of the service that different working groups can contribute to. Yet it's just several parts of one unified body of a service and a like tool that's produced by TEC. I think maybe like it's also important to with the like, tools or other initiatives that TEC like creates. I think maybe like in terms of branding, it could be it's important to first, I don't know, frame it as this like the TEC product to bring, token engineers together, or like create this educational initiative around token engineering, or a library on token engineering, living and flourishing library. Yet it's going to obviously have a lot of different parts to it. On one end, it serves sample and financial sustainability, especially if it's a service that other DAOs and people just come in and actually use, and goes back to comms and what it's trying to do with marketing. It can be a really good opportunity to like spread the word on TEC just with this library. And at the same time, Omega and their Consilience library, continuing this multidisciplinary research around token engineering. So I don't know, I think that's a really good initiative like right now that actually is very when we put the pieces together, to me, it sounds like very clear, and like one of the TEC like tools or products that actually like feels like, okay, many different groups working around it in different ways, but there's this one like unifying mission of like why we are trying to provide this service. Just as an example, does that make sense?
And is that clear for you, the mission? Is that
Yeah, I think
what you said?
yeah, I do think so. And I think it's a great, like, I think it really is a great initiative. I think like it if found a way to kind of bring in different working groups and like what they want out of this service, and like what are their like individual visions of this, and like kind of find a way to unify all of that. I think that'd be a really um it'd be, one of the short-term solutions to this identity crisis, or a good experiment to kind of like see how we're doing this, like multiple working groups working on this one initiative together.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my internet dropped for a minute, but you're talking about um, the sample initiatives of services, like the intake, the intake form of token engineering services, and also the curation library.
Yes, the content curation services. Just because Omega was already working on the Consilience library, and I know comms want to do more, reaching out to stakeholders, and they want to create like more marketing initiatives and have a stronger presence on Twitter and other platforms, to really become that Schelling point, really like to have that presence on other platforms to pull people in. So I think this sort of library could be a unifying initiative for many working groups and their what they have on their agendas for the next working block, and their like visions for the next 2-3 months. It seems like this to me like felt like a really great just project or unifying initiative. What do you think, Bear? I don't know if you have opinions on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's great because I feel, this kind of should be the way in which the TEC should operate more, like working all together into a particular project or initiative, like all the working groups and all the people and all the efforts contributing into that. Because at the end, we are like one commons, right? One single common. So I think it's great, and I think it's great. A good opportunity as well to kind of like take a moment and think how each of the working groups could contribute with this. Like we're talking about comms, right? Like the Omega working group. I know Softgov. Livy, I know you've been talking with Gideon and also planning on starting to contribute with Sample more, you know. So I think that that's amazing, right? And maybe it's a good opportunity to maybe ask the other working groups and the other people like what are their intentions in collaborating more, if not with this specific project, maybe with other projects that support the mission of the TEC, right? So and if they are not um, being able to do that or to achieve that, then also like ask why, right? Like why what's stopping them of doing that, or you know. And this kind of goes back with this part of the narrative, right? Maybe there are some other narratives going on at the same time that I'm not saying they are wrong, right? But I would say it's worth having a conversation about them, and you know, just thinking about what's in the on the benefit for the TEC overall, right?
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking too. I think I mentioned last week, but someone, James from Trojan Dow, was telling me that they decided to just work on one proposal at a time. And hearing that gave me such a relief in my heart, and just to think of that, like everybody working for something, for one solution, for something simple, like simplifying the whole process. And sometimes it's harder to simplify, you know, and I think that's why this happens, this divergence of what people were doing, because when it scales to a certain point that um, we can't keep up with what's happening in all working groups, then there is this sense of disconnection. And maybe the stewards working group that was supposed to be this like meeting point. I think that the sprint retrospectives, they're really great on that sense. Like they provide a reflection from everyone together, you know. But I think sometimes people um, don't have time to reflect, right? Because it takes time to reflect on what even is happening in the working group you're involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think it got to the point that kind of like people working in a particular working group is like really focused on the work of that particular working group. And like you're saying, you know, sometimes or they don't have time, or I would say maybe also maybe they don't have much interest in knowing what's happening in the other working groups and in the TEC. Then you start having like more separation of work and efforts, right? So um, you know, that's kind of like some of my feelings that I have had during the retrospectives, that they are great, but sometimes it's more like reflecting on what happened inside the working group that person was working on than a reflection on the situation of the TEC as a community, right?
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Lily.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys because I mean, you've obviously been in this space for way longer. Like, if I don't know, this inter working group collaboration, or maybe like bridging different working groups and connecting the dots more. Like, are there like particular DAOs or projects or like methods that that could actually facilitate this way more? I know like the Steward Sync is one of them, but anything else that I don't know, you maybe observed in other projects that you got involved in that really worked in terms of this? Or is this just a like general challenge of and horizontal structure like this and it some place like TC with multiple working groups?
Yeah, I think it does feel like a general challenge. Um, I was talking to a lot of people in the conferences now, just thinking like, is there any DAO that is successful, that could be called successful, you know,
Mhm.
now, since all DAOs existed? I think it's a process of maturing and exchanging knowledge between organizations. I feel like that's a point that's missing a little bit, like for us to hear experiences from others. And then that's another thing of like, if you're super involved in one DAO, it's hard to even know what's happening in other communities and how to bring like best learnings from there. I know Gitcoin also has working groups in their structure, and I hear they also have some problems. I don't know if with the working groups, but with how decentralized people feel like the work is, and um, but I don't know actually. I haven't experienced being part of their community. I don't know if you Bear have.
Yeah, I think you're right on what you're saying, that I think this is like a general problem around the Web3 space and the DAOs. And I would say not just in that. I think this is kind of like a problem that humanity goes on constantly. And for me, like a fundamental part or fundamental cause of that is that we still quite haven't figured out how to coordinate and how to communicate. Either it's in a traditional organization, or like in a government, or like within your family, just I feel just like as a group of people, as a group of humans, we still haven't figured that out, that process yet, especially in terms of stewarding, or like having governance over a place, or taking decisions in as a group. I think we're still kind of like trying to figure it out. So I mean, that's part of the exciting too, right? That's one of the things that I really liked about the Web3 space, because it provided tools and technology that we didn't have before. Like for example, these efforts of creating like a group of people, um, taking governance over a place, or things like this. They've been like around since the beginning of humanity, of history, right? So, but we've never had the tools and the blockchain technology and all of this that could make it actually easier to do. So I feel that's like a big advancement that we have. But then we go back to these bases of, yeah, like again, in my opinion, coordination and communication. How do we actually use all of these tech and all of these tools to actually pursue like a common goal, or like a common mission that we all agree on and that we all believe in? I think that's the trickiest part. And yeah, I don't think it's an easy answer, right? But it's just fun to be part of the process and try to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most
Definitely.
exciting part. But I would actually love if someone could do that, like go to other communities and um, see what are their challenges. But I was rehearsing for a long time to do some type of a form to send to multiple communities to address that. Um, but I never did. But it would be really cool to hear more.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And yeah, honestly, I've been going around in different DAOs, and I started working more with TEC. And again, like despite our challenges, I just really, really just love the people here and love how accessible everything is. But also, um, we have the challenges like the crises and everything, but at the same time, I feel that the work really ramped up and everyone is really working towards addressing those, and a lot of brainstorming happening around and everything. So I don't know, with other DAOs, maybe I'm spending less time, but it's definitely something I'm exploring right now, just trying to get a feel of their culture and their challenges and their approach to tackling their problem. So I don't know, maybe I could actually work on a form like that, Livia, and maybe send you for feedback, and maybe we can talk further about that. It could actually be useful, maybe, or yeah, we can, if you have time later on. if you have time from your hikings in the mountains of magical Egypt, we can maybe do a little brainstorm on that, and I can show you what I came up with, kind of a prototype of a form, or we can send to multiple DAOs or individuals.
I would love that. That sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool. So just to wrap it up, I'll share the other ones that are here in this board. So for work culture, having TDAO plus funding for a dedicated community manager. Oh, I think this was just talking about the commons. So having the commons, the T commons plus funding for a dedicated community manager. That happened. Fund grassroots economics to hire staff. It's funny to see all this grassroots economics stickies here, and now we're working with them in the common stack. But yeah, fund bonding curve for community inclusive currency use case, modeling and data science work on the community currency network in Kenya, modeling of different funding mechanisms, CAD package manager, curated list of smart contracts and modeling needs of the trusted projects. This seems like such a good one, and maybe something that goes along with the curated list of resources. Like if people had, many smart contracts and models that worked for certain projects on a list, and like what was their use case of, it sounds like something possible. Security audited implementation of those contracts, create a simulation standardization process. Fund research on generalized bonding curve mechanisms to suit varying use cases. Any comments on those?
Yeah, I'm curious if Omega is already working on this again, like the conciliary library, because I talked to someone. Matt, I think, told me that they've been working on it for a while and prototyping, but I'm not sure exactly what ingredients they have here. Like, is it just a library, or this sounds very interesting, and maybe they're already doing that. I'm just gonna note it down. I think it can be super useful, and it could be a good starting point for this curated content service. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it would be
I'll
great
check
to
on that.
check up on them. Yeah, check up on how they're doing with that, and maybe they need some like help with grounding a little bit more, or like I know a lot of work has been put into it, but I haven't seen anything yet. So maybe this is also part of like an accountability process. You know, they passed a proposal for the Consilience Library, and how can we keep accountability to the proposals in terms of like everyone knows the need of this. So instead of having like a rush accountability, how can we provide support and organize also for that?
Right.
I would have maybe more than comments, just questions that I don't know if you know the answer to, Livy. Just looking at that Kenya post, do you know if there are actually like successful use cases of like token engineering used like in real life projects?
Yeah, we're working with them with the Common Stack now. So kind of the process we did for the TEC, we're starting to do for grassroots economics. I'm actually going to Kenya in a week or two, and they've been for 13 years. They have this project, and they created multiple community inclusive currencies for commons communities. So it's like commons, but on the ground. And they've been circulating the economy that was stagnant because the national currency couldn't arrive there. And then with a new currency, they had like goods and services, but they didn't have means of exchange. So with the community currencies that is created by them, and with the support of grassroots economics, and then having like the development in the ground being supported too, they've been really successful with that.
Oh wow, that's super cool to know. That's super cool. So I
So
would
cool.
just like ask, what would be like kind of like the role of the common stack particularly, and of grassroots economics? Like, what are they providing, or what service, or how does that work?
Well, grassroots economics provides the services to the local communities to help them initiate a community inclusive currency. And they offer like technical support and stuff. They actually have an underlying blockchain system in the phone. Like, you don't need internet. You can send tokens with SMS, basically, like something similar to that. And the common stack is like, the mission of the common stack is to create microeconomies for public goods. So now the process is to create a commons for grassroots economics.
Okay, so the common stack is kind of like supporting grassroots economics in their work, right? That is more direct with this community.
Yeah, and a similar work to the TEC. That was the
Yeah.
relationship between TEC and the common stack. That common stack would support with the cultural build, like the creation of the commons. Like, how do you turn a community into a commons and create an economy for it? So that's
Right.
the contribution of the common stack to the TE community, this partnership with the TE community.
I see. So right now I'm just like thinking and wondering, wouldn't it be like interesting and worthwhile, like maybe looking for some collaboration with grassroots economics in this kind of projects or and initiatives? I don't know what you guys think.
Well,
Would
yeah,
there be
it's
a way?
interesting.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting here in the Miro that it's so mentioned, because it is definitely like, it is definitely a token engineering project to be creating community inclusive currencies. But I think here the proposal, it's more to like the TC would fund this work, and not because they are a nonprofit too, you know. Grassroots economics. They receive donations from like UNICEF and Red Cross and big projects. So I think it's more like, yeah, how can the TEC be in a sustainable place enough to be able to fund these projects, and then the partnership comes from there also. But I might be wrong. I don't know.
I think that's such a good point, Livia. And maybe just thinking, I mean, beyond grassroots economics too, and like looking for projects um, that are bridging this, like the Web3, like technologies and their power to really like bridge it to real life and real communities and bring their value back into the local. And like, I'm not sure if there are any other. I know um, Collectivo Labs, and they're gonna have a pilot in Curacao soon. I don't know if there's any other this community currency projects that you know of that are like already working with on the ground with communities, but also using a lot of like tokenization and token engineering concepts and methods. But I think it'd be really also cool to like look for initiatives and projects like that and see where TEC can be of use, and like where TEC can help. And like, similar to how these projects, for example, go to Give It for funding, like just creating our own branding, and as you said, like our sustainability and really like, our accountability, so that like projects like this actually come to TEC themselves and know that they TEC is a place to come. Also, Bear, I'm going to send you a documentary if you haven't seen it on this is on grassroots economics when they first launched a few years ago. It's very cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hey, Mart.
Hey, Livia, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, PI call ended early, so I wanted to jump Softgov.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Yeah, we were discussing, we were looking at this old vision board from the TEC. That was one of the first exercises we did with the token engineering community. And just looking at like, what did we want to, what were we looking into funding back then? Like before we even had an economy. What was the dreams for the TEC? So we're looking into that. The board is on Softgov channel if you want to take a look.
Thank you.
Unless there's anything else you guys would want to bring it up, I think we could wrap up a little bit earlier. And Mert, I would love to chat more with you if you want to come next time to Softgov. I know you have a conflict at this time, but thanks
Yeah.
for jumping in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Let's see. Like, I would love to as well, but it's conflicting. But we can chat another time. So
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, I prepared the template, just like fleshing out whether the questions are good or not, like clear. Then we'll send tonight to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
No worries at all.
And thank you, Iriam and Bear, for joining and for the awesome brainstorming. You guys are so sharp about everything you're thinking. I appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Livy.
Livia.
Thank you, everyone. It was really nice.
So,
Bye, guys. Thanks.
bye.
Bye bye.